welcome. Again, my name is Jamie Black. I'm the founder of Wildcraft Play School. It's an honor and a privilege to be standing here on the Comox First Nation territory. I have been here only for a couple of years, but I grew up on the island and feel very grounded in the connection with the earth here. I've spent years out on the water, kayaking, sailing, swimming. I've spent a lot of time up the mountains and skiing and hiking and rock climbing and caving. So yes, this is very much home to me, and I just want to invite you to try connecting with your homeland for a moment, where you're standing and what it feels like to you. What trees, if you were to close your eyes, what trees would you see and smell and hear and touch? What waters would you reach out to and connect with? And who are the people that you're surrounded with, and who are the First Nations people that have been there with you and before you? So welcome. This is a basic training of wildcraft play in a nutshell. I just want to give you a taste of what's coming up on March 19th and hand you a couple of tools and some information that I am collecting to be able to really support you as a facilitator in running outdoor programming for children. Now, this is specific for folks who work with children between the ages of 8 and 12, who generally have a group of at least about 8 to 10 people. So if this is not the case for you, yet you feel like you might get something out of this, go ahead and stay on, because I know a lot of folks are putting a request out there for younger programming under the age of 8, between the ages of sort of 5, 6, and 8. And folks who have kiddos with varying needs, whether it be autism or brain injury or ADHD, fetal alcohol syndrome, ODD. I do that kind of work as well. And what I've learned about wildcraft play is that it's designed for neurotypical youth. And so if neurodiverse youth are wanting to play it, it needs to be adapted. And we've got some fun cricket characters that help along the way with that. So I'm going to set up a little share screen here, and I'm going to hopefully prepare you for what it will feel like to step in the world of training with me on Saturday and dive into a 6-week training, a practicum of wildcraft play, the game. So just give me a moment here. Okay. So I'm hoping you can see this. All right. Wildcraft play is a platform, and some people are even calling it a movement. What I intend on sharing just in this short little video is the world of facilitating engaging outdoor play and boosting your confidence as a guide. So my name is Jamie Black. I'll share a little bit more about my background in a little bit. I have an MA in environmental education and communication, and this is a dream come true to teach people around the world how to facilitate using wildcraft play, the game. So as you probably know, there's a huge increase in anxiety and depression, and COVID has done a number on children and all of us. And the state of the world right now is really hard and intense. Children need our help. They need us to model that resilience that they are working on. What better way to do this than playing ridiculous outdoor play with swords and bows and arrows and gold coins. So I just wanted to share this little diagram. Now this this isn't all of the statistics that there are out there. I'm still collecting more and more information. And if you have any specific information on the statistics of children between the ages of 8 and 12 in North America within the last 10 years that has to do with mental health, depression, please send it my way. Send it in a comment below, send me a link. Whatever makes sense. But yes, I'm definitely open to receiving as much resources as we have to be able to share about the increase in the amount of emergency dispatch experiences that are happening for young people right now. As you can see on this model, it's showing an increase since 2009 of the amount of children that are hospitalized that has to do with mental health disorders. This particular one is naming ages sort of 15 to 17, and I'd like to, put it out there that even those between the ages of 5 and 30 are definitely impacted and, as I said, need our help. There's some global prevalence of depressive and anxiety symptoms in children and adolescents. So what is the global prevalence of clinically elevated child and adolescent anxiety? That was the question posed in this particular research, where there was a study of 29 students, or 29 studies, including 80,000 young people. 80,000 young people. The pool suggested that there was an elevation in depression and anxiety from both of those increased by 25% and 20%. And when you look at that information, it's just, we already know this stuff. We know it's coming, and there's more. There's this experience that happens, and even us as adults, we're doing this too, but we're numbing, and by numbing it could be, sitting on Netflix, scrolling through Facebook. I'm a culprit. I do it too. I get it. And there's a difference between being an adult and choosing that, and being a child who is in that process of developing their minds, and it actually affects how they make decisions in the world, how they interact with others, how they engage generally in the public. So, as well as just the basics of personal hygiene and self-care and mental health. And, do children have the practice of going and sitting outside for a while just by themselves and listening? Is that a practice that we generally teach our children? There's another thing that I'm noticing is this one-upping on digital devices, where children are, so attached to their device that they're watching the posts of their peers and seeing how glorious it is, and doing everything they can to look as good as their peers, and try to make themselves look amazing. Where on the other side, once they get off the phone, there's this depression that happens because they're not as good as what they're saying they are. They don't have that image of themselves for everybody else. They don't have that for themselves. So, I could go on and on about what's going on for children right now, and all I want to say is let's give them the tools to thrive, and let's do it outside. So I just want to name, parenting children in the age of screens is not easy. 2/3 of parents in the US say parenting is harder today than it was 20 years ago. New parents are anxious about screen time, and there's been understanding that it gets better. And in this post it said, when it came to worries about screen time negatively affecting eyesight, sleep habits, levels of physical activity, leading to sensory overload and increasing the risk of childhood obesity, nearly twice as many moms of babies were significantly concerned compared to those with children ages 1 to 2. And in this particular survey of 1,700 moms, they also identified that it gets better. And I like to gander how it gets better. because there's things like this. TikTok is starting to create this phenomenon that creates tics in children who are watching the same TikTok person over and over and over again, like their role model, and starts mimicking what it is that they're doing. I'm not even going to get into that. We're going to move on because that scares me. So where I'm at, this is me. I'm Jamie Black. I've been an outdoor guide with children for 20 years. I've coached rock climbing, sailing, kayaking, canoeing, caving, wilderness survivals, camping, cross-country skiing, and my ultimate favorite is archery and swordplay, and wildcraft play, the game. So I created wildcraft play in 2008 because one day I'm just gonna unshare this screen. One day I was standing with a group of children. I was working at the local Boys and Girls Club. I think this was back in, I think it was 2011 or 2012. And I asked all the children in the group, I said, who wants to go outside? And a couple of the kids just grabbed their DSs and said, oh, I just want to play on my DS. And in that moment, I swallowed my pride a little bit and I just thought, gosh, okay, great. Show me what's so exciting about your DS. And there's a lot of wonderful things about Minecraft and other video games that are teaching children about all sorts of things. And I just was really fascinated in the moment when I said, what's so exciting about Minecraft? And within seconds, that child said, I get to explore in nature. And I had a frog in my throat in that moment, and I didn't want to say anything, and I didn't know what to do. And what I ended up doing is I ended up taking that energy, that passion, that misunderstanding, that desire, and I did my master's, and I studied wildcraft play in the forest with a group of children. I studied it from 2015 to 2017, where I defended my thesis, and in that time I came to understand that this is the work that I need to do in order to shift the current consciousness of how we facilitate experiences for children. That's why this is a movement. It's not just a game. Wildcraft play has a platform. There's all these tools and basic guidelines, just like any board game or video game. There's characters, you go on quests, there's gold coins. That's all the bigger piece of what everybody thinks they're experiencing. But when you really get down to it, you start to have these moments where children interact with each other, and it's how we facilitate it that makes all the difference. For example, when a group of children, let's say 5 children find 7 gold coins out in the forest, you can probably imagine the first thing that happens. The first kid that is there, they find all the coins and they covet it, they hoard it, they hold it close to their bodies, and look what I found, look what I found. There's a little dynamic right there that has an opportunity for teaching. And then when some of the kids say, well, I want to hold it. No, I want to hold it. No, I want to hold it. Another opportunity for teaching. But here's the thing, is that in wildcraft play, rather than teaching and stepping forward and trying to educate a child in what they're supposed to do in that moment, we encourage what's called guided discovery learning. So that moment gets to have time and space to unfold and feel uncomfortable and maybe create some anger or agitation between the children. And this is what I call the hummingbird approach. So I intentionally am sitting far away from their experience and watching to see how it flourishes. I've hosted hundreds of experiences where a group of children have to go and find this gold out in the forest. And the first thing that I experienced with that is it was really difficult. I think I had 12 youth, and one person was really proud of themselves for finding it and bragged a whole bunch about them finding it and didn't want anyone else to touch it, and everyone else had to go find their own gold. And then there was a lot of debate, but it was really heated. It was really hard for them to try to get on the same page. And So it took me a while before I decided when I wanted to step in and guide them in their discovery, in that learning. Because I didn't want to just tell them what to do, how to do it, or wouldn't you want to just do this? Like, there's so many ways that we've been taught as adults how to solve a problem, so we just dive in there with the solutions. Well, there's some of the lessons that come from coyote mentoring where it's asking the most appropriate questions at the most appropriate time. And I take that a little bit further. I like being a little bit of an antagonist in the story. So what I do is I show up as that character that I'm going to go in there and be like, well, I want it. No, I want it. And they start seeing me acting this role that is modeling what they're doing, but they don't understand why an adult would do that. And then they start realizing what's happening and starting to focus on themselves a little bit more. And then in that curious play, because I'm a character too, I get to pose some questions and some thoughts, and it starts bringing us on the same playing field where I'm not going to come in and educate and tell them what to do. I'm playing the game with them, and I'm being a character with them. So this is a little nugget of one of many of the things that we do at Wildcraft Play that just shifts the playing field so that we are no longer the leader who is telling them what to do. We definitely provide a lot of the experience, and if you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, you're the game master or the dungeon master, coming up with the adventures as we go, and it's completely led by the children. So if one child decides to go in one way and the others aren't there, now we got to do what that child is doing, and if you don't want that to happen again, how are we going to get the group to work together on this? So as I said, there's a number of other things that come up, and I'm just going to bring you back to the screen because there's a few more things that show up for us that I just want to bring to your attention. Number one is safety. Safety is a fascinating topic, and as an experienced professional outdoor guide, I have come to understand that with more common sense and more experience, my perception of risk is low. For somebody who has no experience and common sense is built from experience, their perception of risk of an experience is quite high. So for example, you take archery. If I've never touched a bow before and I know that an arrow attached to a bow is a weapon and it's scary, and if anything's on the other end of that, I could kill it, that's a big topic. That's a big thing to worry about. Yet, within a short amount of time, when a person gets to go through the training of using archery equipment effectively, and they model that skill over and over and over again with perfection, they have now built that understanding of the standard and expectation of what needs to be done so that everybody stays safe. There's a little bit of room for error, but not much. In Wildcraft Play, we lay a pretty hard line on anything that has to do with safety. And it's not a 3 strikes you're out. It's I'm going to give you this information. I'm giving you one chance to make a mistake, and I am going to be right there next to you, and I'm going to inform you of what you need to do differently. And if it happens again, you don't get to do that for the rest of the day, and you can try it again next time. So there's a little bit of this hard line experience that happens in Wildcraft Play that generally creates a very safe feeling because the children know that you're verbally, visually, and physically taking care of them. And now they get to play at a whole new level because they feel safe, and that perception of risk for them starts to go down. A couple other things that have been brought up about this training. I'm hoping that in this short amount of time that I share some of this information with you, that you gained something out of it. And the types of things that I will be doing with this training is showing all sorts of different resources, giving you access to all sorts of different resources, and providing tons and tons of training videos like this accessible on your phone. So when we look at the cost of $297 for this training, For me, it's at least $1,000 worth of training per person for the amount of material and content and ongoing support. So I can give a little bit of information here that after this Saturday training, you'll put a bit of time into reading some of the documents and accessing some of the resources and maybe even ordering some of the stuff in so that you get a handle on what it is that you're going to be facilitating. And then you start. And when you start, it's a 6-week practicum. In that practicum, you have access to me personally every week. In accessing communications with me every week, it can be anything from a basic, hey, how are you doing? And your response is great, to, you know, an hour of sharing and feedback and idea generating and support with writing your own quests and lesson planning. In addition to that, there's a group that we're going to be facilitating once every 2 weeks, which allows all of the educators included in this training to be able to come together and share stories. And I find that that's actually the sweetest place, because those that are in the learning process and never gone through this before start posing questions and ideas and concerns that it creates real juice for me to be able to dive in and help and guide, as well as to witness that you're not alone in this journey. So that's really exciting. So I just want to share some of the things that I will be sharing with you. So I have this little prepare your props document, a list of all the props that you're going to need for the production. And we'll be going through all of this, how you can get a hold of it. And this is our manual. It's a few pages long, going through all sorts of different topics like core practices, components of wildcraft play, the pedagogy built from the shoulders of giants, your guide to facilitating wildcraft play, guided discovery learning, what that's all about, what Hummingbird approach is, ways to engage, understanding gamification, which is a big deal in this game, and then preparing to play, among, you know, a whole nother set of pages. So there's a lot in there for you. We also will be reviewing this guided self-assessment form. And so we go through it together and we start to answer some of these questions. Like, I am open to trying something new, and you rate yourself. And I created this guided self-assessment during my master's thesis when I realized that I had to start assessing myself in the way I was facilitating and how I wanted to show up for these children. And if I got some external feedback from a coach or a guide, it increased my ability and confidence when it came to facilitating. So in this journey of going through this guided self-assessment, the big piece that I want you to take home is that there are a number of questions in it that will maybe, for some of us, we think we rate ourselves a lot higher than we actually are, or vice versa, we rate ourselves a lot lower than we actually are. And it's in that journey of having a third person offering feedback is big. The other thing about the practicum is that you're invited to video record some of the experience, where it gets shared with me directly, and you get to share your story of what's going on in that journey, and start to dive in and dig into some of the things that maybe you're personally struggling with. We have lesson plans. So this is just the beginning of this lesson plan. And go through all the details of it, how to set up, that you need a mailbox, joining the quest, how to hook them, and a little bit of foreshadowing. So as you can see, it's well worth the $297. And the reason I'm only charging $297 is because I'm trying something new. I'm trying a new way of getting this information out to as many people as I can. That's my little vision board back there, getting it to as many people in the world as I can. So I just invite you to join us and become one of the founders of this new training platform. I've also had a number of people talk about age. They've been asking me, do you do this for younger children? Well, it turns out, because I've had so many people asking, that I'm gonna adapt the program to be able to facilitate this game for younger children. The swords are a huge hit for kids. It doesn't matter how old you are. You put a foam sword in a child's hand and it just creates so much joy and so much laughter, so much magic, and it's an amazing workout too. So that mixed with gold coins and quests in the forest and wearing cloaks and being ridiculous and telling stories and living the story, everybody needs this. So I just wanted to share that we're opening up to a few more folks in that way. And I also want to let you know that in the next video that's coming, it's either going to be tomorrow or the next day, I'll be covering that case study that I was talking about that I did for my master's research. It's the guided discovery learning for children in nature, and I'm talking about the Hummingbird approach. So I'm going to give more very specific details and information on that, as well as some of the resources that have really fed the work that I do. And I just want to leave you with ask that you leave questions and comments below to just sort of feed this conversation and see if there's anything that I have shared that you need more information, or you're not feeling clear about, or you don't understand the process. Oh, I had one woman ask, how does this system work? And she said, is it like a franchise? And I said, well, basically when you take this training, you get a license to teach. Once you've practiced in that license to teach and you're a part of the community for a little while, if you want to become a trainer that trains teachers, that's available as well. So just have a real consideration on showing up to the training. If you attend the training on March 19th, it's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturday. It looks like I'm going to have to be running it live stream on this Wildcraft Play page itself rather than in the event page. So when you attend that training, I have it at $28. You attend the training, you get as much as you can out of that, but please know that if you want the entire experiential practicum, you'll have to make a full commitment with the full payment by the end of that day. So I just want to inform you of that in advance and welcome you to the world of Wildcraft Play. So thank you so much for joining me in this little share, this story, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here on Comox First Nation territory and in this home that keeps us safe, and the beautiful view and connection to the ocean and the land. And I'm wishing you and all of your family and friends health and wellness and joy and magic. Have a lovely day.